Hey everybody, this is Dr. Pharrell, and this is the Sacrifice for Riches podcast. I'm in the whip on the way to the store, but I had a thought. There's a book that I read called The Power of One More. And the book has a very simple concept of his idea of success, right? And what it takes to get there. And what the focus is essentially that success is typically one attempt or one action, one thing you got to do, one more thing of something you have to do in order to get success or to obtain success. They're saying that you've probably done a lot, or you probably have the makeup or the template or the foundation, and everything in place for you to achieve the success that you're looking for, but do one more of something within that plan in order for you to achieve that, probably faster or just have a better chance of achieving it. So that book wasn't the only thing that I read, of course, but it definitely played a part in my sobriety, me becoming more of a profitable trader when it came to options. And it was just that mindset of what was one more thing that I could do, right? Like, what was one more thing that I could commit to that would put me over the hump, right? That would get me out of this slump of consistency of doing well and then falling off, right? Like, because it happens, right? So oftentimes, I guess, speaking from experience, if you were to get into a trade, right, and let's say the trade went well for you, you were profitable, and then minutes later or within minutes you hop into another trade, likely that trade was not a winning trade, and that was something that that I struggled with, like, unintentionally, I guess, maybe because it just didn't feel necessarily real. Like, yeah, you won, but it's like, oh, you're still in the game, you're still doing it. But then I was like, well, what's one more thing I can do, like, to make sure that I'm not giving back all my gains? And part of that was making the decision to close my laptop lid after I took gains, right? That was one thing that I did. Another thing that I did, if I was still in the market and I didn't really want to be done, I would double the time frame in which I were to get into a play. So let's say that I'm intraday trading, and let's say I'm paying attention to the movement on the 15-minute chart, but I use the 1 minute to 5 minute chart to enter my positions. Well, I get into the position, the play goes my way, I get stopped out in positive gains. Well, then what I did was, what was one more thing that I could do to make sure I wasn't giving anything back away? I doubled my time frame. So I waited, right? So I said, well, I guess I can wait longer before deciding to enter a position. So that 15-minute timetable, I just doubled that, and I just went to the 30-minute. And when I did that, that made me be more patient, right? And then typically the plays needed that time to develop anyway. And then by that 30-minute time frame, it probably wasn't still a good time to have gotten into the play. And then I will look back and say, man, I'm glad that I had waited instead of just jumping back in, because this definitely chopped up, right? Like, it turned into some consolidation. Whatever it was, after a run up, typically have some sideways action, right, that chops you up and eats all your gains, especially if you're a day trader. So that was one more thing that I could do. Maybe for you, maybe it's writing down your plays, right? Journaling. And you probably journaled before, or you probably journaled every now and then, or maybe you started and then you stopped, and then you started and then you stopped. Well, maybe it's too much for you, right? Maybe it's too much of a burden. So let's simplify your process, right? Let's commit to something. Let's commit to recording one of your trades a day. Let's start there. It's better than zero, right? It's better than zero. So let's start with, okay, what's one more thing I can do? I can record one trade a day. And then that can change into 2 trades or 3 trades or 4 trades. But by doing it the one trade a day, it might make it so simplistic for you where it'll take you 1 to 2 minutes to fill that information in, whatever it is, to where, oh, well, I can just do this to all my trades, right? I think, especially me, that's why I created my journal. And this isn't a plug for me to push my journal. Get your own journal, write in a notebook, go to Tradezilla, get a digital thing, or go to Excel and download a version of a journal. I don't care what you do. But essentially, I created a journal for myself because I overcomplicate things. And when I was journaling, it would take so much of my time to the point where over time I would just stop doing it, right? I just wouldn't want to do it because I just know how much of a time commitment it is for me. Well, I changed that up. So now I put my internal thoughts, mental thoughts, right? How I feel and stuff like that on my phone. I'll just text that out. But as far as my plays, I use the Stocks for Real trading journal that's on Amazon, and I just plug in the information and I move on. It's pretty easy for me to sit back and review that information and just start with one a day, right? So whatever it is that you do, right, just commit to one more thing. For my personal life, I guess, for example, I was like, well, what's one more thing I can do to build a better relationship with my mom? Well, I say, okay, well, I can take her out to lunch, like a couple times a month. Maybe it's twice a month. I think it started off as like once a month or once every 2 weeks, and then then now it's a thing, So yeah, I mean, it's just simple stuff like that. Like, just think, whatever you want to change in your life, whatever you want to excel in or succeed in, just ask yourself, what's one more thing I can do to achieve the goal that I aspire to achieve? Write it down and do it. And commit for a specific amount of days, and then to see what happens, okay? This is Stocks for Real, Sacrifice for Riches podcast. I appreciate you guys for even tuning in. Please leave a comment. Let me know if you're going to pick up the book, if you have already had the book and read the book, and then your opinions on the book, all right? Because I thought it was pretty dope, all right? Take care.